So what technical applications do we need for value-based care? There are many ways to categorize new or in some cases renewed health IT applications. A short list includes those on this slide: analytics, population health and patient engagement tools, artificial intelligence and cognitive computing, consent management, customer relationship management for care coordination, medication reconciliation, patient portals, personal health records, Internet of Medical Things, IoMT, including mHealth, positive patient identification, social media, and telemedicine, telehealth, and virtual care. If you don't see your favorite new technology on this list, it could likely be included within one of the categories here. But if you think it is totally missing, here or in the next discussion on technical infrastructure support, privacy and security, interoperability, or analytics, please send us a link to an article describing it, and we will all become more enlightened. We're going to look more at analytics in Unit 6 and population health patient engagement tools in Unit 8. But artificial intelligence and cognitive computing, which are similar but distinguishable by their approach to data-intensive tasks, with cognitive computing using more machine learning to speed up the process of providing new information, are not only used in analytics, but are ways to improve the quality of clinical decision support, and is being viewed as a way to better manage alert fatigue. These tools improve natural language processing that should help overcome the issue of too many clicks in an EHR, but not enough structured data for good data to support ECQMs. Customer relationship management applications are not new, but are new to healthcare and are especially being used to manage various aspects of care coordination, including patient, family, caregiver, community service relationships, primary care to specialty, long-term post-acute care relationships, narrow networks, that is, high-performing networks, pharmacies, DME suppliers, etc. Medication reconciliation is a particularly complex and error-prone process in the hospital, and even more complex across the continuum of care. Some of the issues are technology related to interoperability among disparate systems, but many relate to human failures in workflows and/or distrust of patient-supplied information, which could also be overcome with some of the Internet of Medical Things technologies. A toolkit sponsored by the AHRQ entitled Medications at Transitions and Clinical Handoffs, commonly called MATCH, describes useful IT and non-IT strategies for building a comprehensive program, including a resource justification tool. While automated pill boxes and medication reminder apps are available, provider monitoring has been very limited. Patient portals and personal health records are somewhat older technologies that need better utilization and updating. Patient portals and personal health records, which can be accessed via a portal, are reasonably well connected to their EHRs, as many EHR vendors support their provision. However, how well they are used by providers varies considerably. My own experience is such that the provider must click on anything to be transferred to the PHR. So if there is failure to click on a lab test result, for instance, the result is not available without calling the practice. The provider also has me described as a male in the PHR, and therefore apparently the EHR, and claims it is my responsibility to fix this, even though I have no right access to the PHR, and which precludes Medicare reimbursement for preventive mammograms. If a patient has multiple providers from different organizations involved in a person's care, the person will have as many independent PHRs as separate providers. PHRs are also available independent of a given provider and then can be used by the patient to document, such as a diabetic diet, medication adherence, etc., but providers rarely want to access these. Continuing our discussion of health IT for value-based care, the Internet of Medical Things is probably the category with the most new technologies. Internet of Medical Things is often used to describe patient-facing IT as opposed to mHealth, using similar technology but are provider-facing. Whatever these may be called, they include wearable devices, remote home patient monitoring equipment, a new generation of sensors that can be implanted, swallowed, or worn on the skin, and many forms of apps and other mHealth. I'm also including in this category some of the behavioral health software outside of behavioral health EHRs, as these technologies are slated for significant growth, corresponding with the estimate that about 29% of people with experience of a mental disorder in their lifetime. There are major concerns about the efficacy of many of these. Some may be relatively harmless, such as a well-tested one for insomnia. But there are others that have been deemed to be clinically wrong, such as 10 out of 14 identified as safe and trusted in the UK for depression had no evidence for such an endorsement, or produce unintended consequences, such as a Swedish app designed to curb risky drinking, but actually increased alcohol use in further study. Just the same, many devices and apps are enabling better care for those with infectious conditions who can stay home and be treated remotely, reducing spread and costs associated with a visit to the office. The homebound and elderly are targets of many Internet of Medical Things, including vital signs tracking such as heart monitors and glucometers, including some being used even in the inpatient setting. Virtual Home Assistance provides reminders to take medications for doctor visits and connecting with people who can help overcome loneliness, often leading to depression. Some of these include robotics, touchscreens, text and video platforms. Some of these also monitor for overdosing, and information generated can help pinpoint triggers, such as for asthma attacks requiring use of the patient's inhaler. Portable diagnostic devices can test biomarkers more frequently and hence are faster at monitoring existing conditions for changes in diagnosing new ones. Personal emergency response systems are increasing in their sophistication as well, especially when there is navigation assistance, boundary perimeter breach alerts, fall detection, and so forth. Small hearing aids, readers, and customized reminder buttons can be programmed for everything from improving communications to doing activities of daily living, such as brushing teeth. Smart implants are also growing, enabling medical intervention on a timely basis. Both in hospital and at home, smarter environments are being used to prevent falling out of bed, not eating regularly. Monitor that when a stove is turned on, it is turned off, and smart cups for both improving independence for those with Parkinson's to determining when a change in the degree of tremor should be checked. Finally, you do not have to have chronic disease or be old to benefit from such technology, as it is being incorporated into clinical technology improvements such as prone mammography equipment to fitness trackers. Positive patient identification in the form of barcoded wristbands, medication vial labels, etc. have been used for some time, but the addition of radio frequency identification, or RFID, far-field communication, Bluetooth, and near-field communication offer greater precision depending on its use. For example, managing narcotics inventory can benefit from far-field communications embedded in boxes, but managing narcotics use at the bedside can be more secured with near-field communication. Lastly, with respect to applications, we want to talk about social media and telemedicine telehealth, sometimes called virtual care or distinguished from virtual care. In this context, social media includes social networking such as Facebook or Twitter, professional networking such as LinkedIn, media sharing such as YouTube, content production such as blogs, knowledge information aggregation such as a wiki, and virtual reality and gaming environments such as Second Life, Clinispace. Use of social media in healthcare has been controversial, especially between patients and health professionals, with concerns ranging from breaches of patient privacy to violating professional licensure and legal issues. However, many describe social media, especially in the form of social networking, as the coffee klatch of old, providing emotional support, information sharing, and other benefits among friends and neighbors, whose network can be greatly expanded. And these benefits accrue not only to patients but to healthcare professionals as well, who often find it necessary to express emotions and receive support for the stresses of their profession. Because we now have the ability to study social media, whereas in the past it was much more difficult to gather data from the proverbial coffee klatch. As such, there have been both positive and negative effects. Some believe it equalizes communications between patients and professionals, engages and empowers patients to be more involved in their health and healthcare decision making, and may be considered a form of virtual healthcare. Others believe it increases unprofessional self-promotion, causes switching of doctors, may have a negative effect on harmonious relationships, and may even promote suboptimal interaction between patients and providers. There are also issues associated with others seeing social media communications, such as employers or health plans who may use the information in discriminatory ways. There may be damage to the professional image of a provider, and poor quality information can be spread much more broadly and quickly. In fact, most provider organizations have developed social media policies and best practices for its use. Turning to telemedicine, telehealth, and virtual care, we should observe that these are forms of medical and/or health practices with payment and liability where social media should not be used by healthcare professionals to practice medicine. As we've noted previously, health encompasses but is broader than medicine, and the same can be said for telemedicine versus telehealth. Virtual care generally refers to a professional encounter without direct contact between the patient and provider, where telehealth can complement such care through use of telehealth devices and procedures. Both support enhanced access to care, reduce cost to patients, reduces cost to providers who can use remote telemonitoring even for intensive care units, and many, though not all, believe it improves the quality of care, especially for chronic conditions, for those who need specialty consultations in remote areas, and for those who require immediate care in a remote area or on a battlefield, where telehealth can provide triage and stabilization prior to getting the patient to a tertiary care facility. Disadvantages of telehealth include technical training and cost of equipment, potential for reduced continuity of care, potential loss of the personal touch that many believe has healing benefits, and healthcare laws, reimbursement policies, and privacy protection issues. State licensure and limited Medicare/Medicaid reimbursement have been difficult hurdles.